So my first question for you guys is, what strategies, including resources and experiences, were involved in during your undergraduate experience that helped you explore your career paths?
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay. Well, I took advantage of a lot of different things at Oswego. I definitely talked to a lot of my professors, especially in general education courses I was taking. The general education courses is kind of the biggest, I would say they were one of the major tools that I used to kind of explore where I wanted to go in terms of a major. That's really what I did. In fact, the way I found my major was through an introductory sociology class that I had taken. In fact, the professor that taught it ended up becoming my first academic advisor. I changed from Undeclared into that program. So the strategies that I tended to use were trying to learn through the general education courses and the faculty. I also was in the OLS program, which I'm not sure if that still exists at Oswego. I think it's changed forms, but that office provided a lot of support as well, and helped me. They had a very nice group setting with other students, and they helped explore and kind of tell me at that time when I needed to hear it, that I didn't have to have a grand goal in mind right away, that I should take the time to explore. And I kind of went ahead and did that, knowing I had that support behind me and that I could talk to my instructors and explore through Gen Ed in particular.
Yeah, I took a similar approach. I was lucky enough to come in during a time when the GST classes for undeclared majors were available. And I took a class, and it was a lot about career exploration and figuring out your strengths and your interests and things like that. And I did some shadowing and interviewing of people in different professions. And that course kind of gave me the confidence to think about what success looked like to me, and think about myself as an individual instead of, when you're a freshman in college, maybe you're thinking about yourself as a greater classmate in the class that you just graduated from, or as part of your family, or, those types of relationships. That really helped me start to think about myself as a professional. So that was really helpful. And also, I was just super interested in coming from a small high school in a rural town, jumping into all the really cool things that were offered at Oswego that interest me, and they don't have to do with career things at all. I got really involved in a lot of different clubs, but I was especially interested in the arts programs. I did some theater stuff my senior year, and I was like, I could have done this the whole time I was here. It was so awesome. And me and my friends created Cut the Craft when we were just wee little freshmen, and we wanted to do tie-dye projects together. And that helped teach me, project management skills, and, just like marketing and working events and things like that. So there was a lot of valuable lessons and hidden places. And another thing, I was in the communications department, and for whatever reason, it's really drilled into you that you need a lot of internships for that, career path. And I was just on the hunt for internships all the time, and I really wanted to do lots of internships. And so I did, which was really helpful because it helped show me what I didn't want to do and what I did ultimately want to do.
I have a follow-up question for you both. What were if I remember correctly, Mary, you said that you studied public relations, and Tom, you said you studied sociology. Were there any other paths that you guys had gone through in terms of majors? Like, what did you think you were going to go into before actually getting into the major that you stuck with?
I was a general communication major for a semester. Um, and I took a public relation course with TJ, and I really liked how in the PR major, it seemed like there were specific strategies for achieving different communication theories. And so that's when I kind of pivoted to that. At the same time, I also took a marketing class, and I really did not like the energy of that. And that really helped me realize that, paid advertising and the big business of working with, big brands in the traditional marketing major sense was not really for me. So that kind of helped guide me to earned media.
I had initially thought I was going to go into business. In fact, I had applied as a business major, but quickly learned that was not interesting. And by quickly, I mean not something I was going to do. By quickly, I mean like the first week. I discovered like I probably am not cut out for some of these types of classes and so forth. And I actually remember talking with one of the instructors and just kind of expressed that. And they said, well, go take care of some gen eds. And that helped me quite a bit. And then I went from there thinking I was going to be an English teacher. And because I love to write and read and so forth, and never declared that, but ultimately I took the introductory sociology class, and that's kind of what hooked me, because it was thinking about the world in a completely different way. And when I was a young kid, it to me was very eye-opening. It was really something that hooked me, kind of from an academic perspective, which I didn't really necessarily think in those terms. I thought I was trying to get a job, but I took this class, and it just sort of changed my outlook on things, and it prompted me to declare the major, and then I didn't really look back after having done that. But I certainly did spend a little time out kind of trying to determine what I wanted to do, and kind of bounced around a little bit, in a good way, to try to finally arrive at where I thought I needed to be.
Okay, cool. So for both of you, looking back, are there experiences or services that you wish you'd taken advantage of while you were here?
I wish I had done more, actually, with the tutoring office, when I was there, because I discovered, I think probably it must have been my junior year or senior year, I was struggling with some upper level courses, and I turned to them for assistance to try to meet with somebody that was doing very well in that work. And it really helped me a lot. And if I had any advice for students, it's try to take advantage of those at an early point, and get a comfort level with it. And once you sort of get, anyone can go, I'm sure, but once you sort of get a comfort level and your foot in the door, then you'll be more willing to turn to that type of support later. So for me, it was something I did take advantage of, but I didn't take advantage of it until I was an upperclassman, and I wish I had done it sooner. That's probably one of my bigger regrets. And I remember telling my advisees that all of the time, like, go over there and just, if you're struggling, sign up, and meet with another student or a professional tutor who connects with you, and start the path.
I'm not sure there was many things that I didn't take advantage of that I wish I did. But I will say that I think I could have spent more time, especially early in my time at Oswego, um, thinking about the things that make me unique, and the types of things I wanted to surround myself with. I think, like anyone, you kind of fall into the routine of making new friends and, tagging along to the things they're doing. And, just you're there to have new experiences and um, to meet new people and make connections. But I think I could have done a little bit more connecting with myself and figuring out what kind of environment was really helpful for me to grow. And to answer Laura's question that she left in the chat, I was really lucky. I was part of an art club in high school, and so I had experience in leading that. And I came to Oswego and I was like, all right, where's the club where we, color? And they were like, well, you could become an art major. And I was like, no, I just want to have fun. So I walked into Mike Pastella's office and he gave me the forms, and I needed an advisor, and thankfully Jackie stepped up to the plate. And really, it was really just having the confidence that your idea isn't crazy. And I got that through my friends who were like, yeah, I would do that. And from there, I learned so many things, like applying for funding and how to make a funding proposal. And yeah, you really just have to show that there's a need for it. And if there is really a need for it, then the staff will support you.
You just actually reminded me that I have to email Mike Pastella back. He's great, but in terms of like experiences, like club wise, would you guys say that like every hobby has to either become a major, or do you think like, it can be, it's fun enough to like do and make sure you have a community and maybe a club setting instead?
I think what you're asking is, correct me if I'm wrong, that like every interest you have has to be something related to like your professional life. Is that what you're asking?
Something like that, because like I've personally been a musician my whole life and I made it a major. And it ended up being that I kind of like didn't start out as a musician, as a music major. Sorry, when I first came here, I was mostly just a communication major. And at first it just became a hobby, but then I realized I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. But I know some other people in like who also are in like choir with me or in ensembles with me don't feel the same way. It's more just of a hobby, something fun to do on the side. So do you think everything needs to become your number one like major track in college?
I mean, I can just tell you from my own personal experience, like right now I have a lot of hobbies and they're not my job. I think those are the things that make you an interesting life. And they're not always going to make you money right off the bat. Maybe they'll make you money sometime in the future, but it's good to have interest in hobbies that, aren't your job.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I have I try to keep a lot of hobbies going too. Um, I don't think that just because there's something you really love to do that you absolutely have to make it your life's work. Sometimes keeping that for yourself is actually a good thing to do, because there are some things that I really love to do that I think I might be good at, but I think if I made it a career, I might not enjoy it nearly as much. So I think each person is going to kind of come to their own conclusion on that. There are some things, like you were saying, that you've played music all your life and you know that that's just something central to what you want to do and want to be. Absolutely, then you can go forward and make that your career. But in my case, I play music, not much, but and not well, but that will exclusively be a hobby, because that's a way for me to to just sort of unwind and express myself in a different way. So it's, yeah, probably each person's going to make a decision on how to do that.
Okay, thank you guys. On to our next question, myth versus fact. You have to have your life all figured out by graduation. What are your thoughts?
Go for it.
Oh, okay. No, you definitely don't. I did not. So I partly went to graduate school, like I was saying, because I love sociology. I didn't know what else to do. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to graduate school because I'm not sure what to do. So I didn't. I did not know by the time I graduated, or even leading up to graduating, what I wanted to do with my life. And I will say that even after getting those degrees, I'm not actually working as a sociologist per se. So I've bounced around even as an older adult now, trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. I still think I've got, my next career coming any day now, So yeah, I would say that's a myth, that you don't need to know. There are some people who do, probably. I certainly wasn't one of them. And if you are one of those kinds of people, that's not wrong. That's great if that's your path. But I don't think you must know that you know exactly what you'll do. And even if you think you do and you do reach the goal of getting the degree in the major you wanted, there's a good chance that life will, put a fork in the road or something, or give you an opportunity that you want to take, and you'll grow and change and go in a different direction.
Yeah, I actually just switched jobs in January. So I agree with Tom. It's always evolving. You've never figured it out. There's no final destination or landing spot that you're meant to be at, I don't think. I know a lot of my fellow classmates that I graduated with right now that really felt strongly about the career paths that they were taking are in a position where they've invested all this time and certifications and money and effort and in one thing, and now they really hate it, and they are trying to pivot, and it's a hard pivot for them because they really specialized. And so I think there's really benefits in knowing what you want to do, because it helps you identify opportunities that could be beneficial to you. But I also think staying open to following what makes you, interested and curious, um, and instead of focusing on having it figured out, like having the last stage, identified, I would instead try and focus on, you know, what in your life right now feels like success, and that's going to be different for everyone, and you can't follow everyone else's templates. You're going to have to come up with your own.
Alasis, I just noticed Laura, there's two questions, but Laura had asked one, I think, about for us about would you say you develop skills in some of the hobby or personal activities you enjoy that translate to your professional work? So things that we do as hobbies that, we wouldn't necessarily, they're kind of our avocations, of folding them into our vocations in a way. I would say, yeah, so when I was at Oswego, and this was, the mid to late 90s, the web was new. And I learned how to code HTML, which back then that was cutting edge. Now it seems like it's very common that folks know how to do that. But I kept doing that. In fact, my first job at Buffalo as a graduate student was working in what was called at the time the ETC, the et cetera, Education Technology Center, where they hired me as a web creator, a web page creator, where I created websites for faculty members, trying to do a new thing, which was to put courses online. Which right now we're real accustomed to. It's a very different world now. So that's an example. And even today, as a registrar, I get to use technology, and which has been, it was really a hobby. I get to use and learn more about different kinds of technologies, and often fold them into my work. So absolutely, your hobbies can lead to professional experiences and growth in your jobs too. So keep chasing them. Yeah.
I'm just rereading out the question. Mary, I'm not sure if you wanted to answer, but would you say you develop skills in some of the hobby or personal activities that you enjoy that translate to your professional work?
Totally. I mean, if you want to, hold a leadership position in, a community organization, you're going to bring your work into that as well. And if you want to have a little side business in any way, you're going to need communication skills and business school skills and accounting skills. And yeah, there's just no way to really separate the two without intermingling happening. I think one thing that I focused on a lot when I was at Oswego was having credit earned internships, and I was very adamant about that. But I think now, given just the way the world is, if you want to, show yourself as being a professional about intersectional environmentalism, or animal welfare, or poetry, or whatever it is, if that's like the path that you really feel like you want to take, you can, create a really engaging social profile and start a blog and really sell yourself in that way. And that doesn't require anyone to give you a job, and that doesn't require um, anyone to give you credits for classes. That's really, you can do that yourself. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for experience like that that doesn't necessarily fall into the category of career class, earning credit and writing an essay at the end of your internship stuff.
Some of Laura's message also said, I think those extracurriculars are a great way to build a network and help with unique contributions to skills on your resume. Have you guys ever had a moment where maybe you were in like a club setting, well, art club or anything, where you kind of like found someone who was the right connection, or that connection helped you on later in life?
Totally. I'm still really good friends with a lot of my peers, that I met through all the different extracurricular things. And peer connections are really important. They're not just the traditional like business person mentor connections are important, but peer connections are really important too. And yeah, I mean, when you're involved in a club, you have advisors and you work with staff, and they can help you get connected with people who are in the field.
Yeah, I think so. So in terms of some of the clubs and stuff, I was in the student association and when I was at Oswego, and I still have friends there. In fact, some of them work in SUNY, so that has been a way to sort of um, stay involved and create opportunities and so forth through some of those club events for sure.
Okay, on to our next question. What are ways you still contribute to, sorry, not contribute. What are ways that you still continue to focus on your own professional development? And do you have career goals that you're currently working towards?
Totally. I just started a new job, and my job is to help promote agriculture in the region. And I do that by working with a lot of different business owners. And something that has always been in the back of my mind is being a business owner. And so I took this step in my career as a way to understand how businesses function better. And I'm hoping to kind of just witness what makes successful businesses in the region and what are the challenges that people are facing. And I'm definitely a learning by doing kind of person. And for me, that was a good step in making connections with the people that I could possibly be working with. And yeah.
I still obviously have, well, not obviously, I still do have quite a few career goals of my own, ways that I can focus on professional development. I think what I tend to do now is because I'm in higher ed, I tend to look at my colleagues in higher ed, and try to gain some experience with them or seek advice from them. A lot of the skills that I've been able to build as a professional have actually come sort of from the people around me. So I would say, as you're learning and as an undergraduate and as you go forward in your career, to be sort of to sort of have your eye out and your ear open to what other people are doing. You might find somebody in your place of work who, for example, is really good with teaching people about emotional intelligence. I'm just thinking about something that came up in my office recently, and then doing some workshops with that person, or sort of branching out and learning more about that and helping you further your career in that way by gaining those kinds of skills. So I would say that's one of the ways that I tend to try to keep professionalizing. And even as a student, I think we were talking about hobbies earlier, I think by kind of talking with those other students, taking interest in their hobbies and your own, that will often do that for you too, that you'll kind of pull on a string and then find out that there's this whole other world of name the topic. There's a whole other world of X that you want to explore and learn more about, and it can be very fulfilling, and it can be a way to gain more professional background too.
Well, feel free to answer me this question with a head nod for both of you. So do you think the career goals and professional development ever really stop? It's just funny because, a lot of this stuff is very emphasized like in college, and in some ways, like some of our previous questions asked, they're like, have it all figured out by graduation. Like that's one of the myths that like people think. And it's crazy, like now that I'm in like this place myself, where I'm like, do I have it all figured out? Am I professionally developed enough to go into my field? It's just interesting to see like other people still going through like the same, I guess, turmoil that I am going through as a almost graduating senior. Yeah.
Yeah, and Alasda's, I mean, having that, I guess that self-awareness that and that understanding that this is a long game. Your career, this is not necessarily a goal, it's sort of an evolving thing. It sounds like you've already kind of gotten a sense of that, and having that perspective while in college, I think will do you really well for when you graduate. I didn't have that perspective when I was in college. I wish I had, because I probably would have done it a little bit differently. But you're absolutely right. I think that it's never ending. You can be at any age and decide you want to go in another direction, or even stay on your current path, but just sort of go off on the side a little bit and learn and do something different. And who knows where that'll lead you. So it's a really good perspective to have.
Thanks. It is very just comforting to know in general. So thank you guys. We're gonna move forward to some of the chat questions. I know there was one earlier from Austin Frazier. How did you guys figure out what you wanted to do following college? I am currently deciding whether I want to work in the management and sales areas. What I think I enjoy working in the most, the finance and risk management areas, where I feel the most confident in my abilities, or to further my education to obtain my MBA, as I plan to get my MBA one day.
Yeah, I can try and answer that. I think that I did not have it figured out. I was open to probably like 50 opportunities that would have sounded interesting to me. And I applied to jobs like crazy. And the job that I had a decent offer from is the path that I took. You can, try and control the outcome. Even if you have it figured out, there's going to be outside circumstances. Perhaps, you've been studying really hard to become a fine food chef, and the pandemic hits and no one's hiring fine food chefs right now. There's going to be outside forces. And so both good and bad, or neutral. So I think for me, my first job was working at a company of about 200 people who were all my age and working in digital marketing. And was it the place I envisioned myself? No, but it was super fun and I learned a lot. And it was a way for me to kind of connect with people my own age and, learn how to be an adult altogether. And I think if you have a wide idea of what you're interested in, and you have opportunities to kind of investigate those a little bit more, what's meant to happen for you will happen.
Yeah, I mean, and Austin, I mean, if you have an opportunity to do like an internship or something in those areas, like Mary was saying, that would be an excellent way to kind of test the waters a little bit. I know lots of folks that went out and pursued internships and learned that they wanted to go in different directions sometimes, or they learned, yes, this is exactly where I want to be, or maybe it wasn't what they expected and they went in a different direction. So any opportunities like that are going to be great. But again, you don't need to have it figured out. In terms of, I still don't know what I want to do after college, and I went to 3 colleges, so I still I still don't know what I want to do yet, Austin. So it's at some point, you'll find yourself in a place where you feel pretty comfortable and you want to branch out and do different things. And um, just keep your ears open, your eyes open for those kinds of things. And while you're an undergraduate, if you have opportunities to explore the careers themselves through internships or field work, any types of opportunities that come your way, or even just working part-time. Sometimes you can find work like that can help you kind of hone your career interests and also, provide a little bit of spending money too. Kind of keep your opportunities or kind of keep your options open and try to explore things through that way. That's helpful.
And go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say a follow-up for both of you guys. Would you say there's such thing as over planning in this sense? Because I've definitely over planned my life a little too much, but
Definitely. I think one of the things that I found to be true was that in the PR, major and having different professors, a lot of the professors that I had at that time period came from a traditional PR firm background in major cities and writing to newspapers, and they all had a very similar background. And so I kind of developed an idea of what success looked like based on that. And then I went to this digital marketing company, and they were very focused on moving up in the company and increasing, your title and your pay and things like that. And so there was a lot of focus on that there. And these two kind of ideas put it in my head that if you're not moving up, you're not succeeding, and that should be the goal. And I was talking to a colleague at a networking event. And I said, I always really just wanted to work in nonprofits. That's what I wanted to do. But you can't move up in nonprofits. So what's the point? And he was like a very successful person and, an older mentor to me. And he's like, so what? Work at a nonprofit for 3 or 4 years and then do something else. If that's what you want to do, that's moving up. And I think we just need to be careful about whose idea of success and whose idea of moving up we are kind of inheriting when we are planning out our career.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Set your own goals. Don't let someone else's goals be yours, or the model of constantly having more and more rank or moving up in the career, having a higher position. If that isn't what you plan to do, that it's not everybody's goal. I agree with that 100%. In terms of planning or over planning, it's absolutely possible to over plan for sure. And I think, again, echoing pretty much just what Mary just said, if you plan and set your mind to doing something and it doesn't turn out that way, that can feel very disappointing. But maybe it's not to sound too idealistic about it, but maybe that wasn't the way it was supposed to turn out, or maybe that wasn't the best path. Sometimes you go in a completely different direction, and I've had that happen a bunch of times in my career where I ended up going different places I didn't think I wanted to be, and it ended up being a really great experience. So I agree. Don't over plan if you can help it. But planning isn't bad either. Just like Mary's saying, make sure your goals are your goals and that your ideals are your ideals, and you're not chasing something that is just sort of out there as you're supposed to do this. Not necessarily.
we have another chat question from Laura. What are some tips you can each provide in terms of continuing that professional growth you're referencing throughout your career? That being conferences, higher degrees or certifications, listservs or groups?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that's going to be different for everyone, right? Like, I know I have tried doing like digital marketing certifications, and I've tried being a part of AMA and PRSA and all those things. And that just doesn't work for me because I'm a really hands-on learner. And so for me, it's like, in my experience, I've been very lucky working for different organizations that if I really want to do something and I can prove that it is valuable, I've had the space to practice with it and try it and use whatever it is to move the goal of what I'm working on. And so if I think Google advertising is something I really want to learn about, I find a way to make that my work. And if making events connecting young people in the Adirondacks is what I really think I should be doing, I find a way to make that my work. And for me, that's really how I learned. But I know a lot of people love, going to conferences, and a lot of people love having the certifications on their resume. It looks really good. Um, and I wish I could do that, but it's just not my style.
Yeah, yeah, everybody has a different approach to this for sure. For me personally, I do find networking and conferences to be very helpful, but I have friends and colleagues who are like, I don't want to, or that they find much more fulfilling things through sort of going through and maybe learning things on their own and so forth. So yeah, everybody's going to be different. In my career, a lot of it really has been focused on networking. I think that's sort of the nature of higher education, though, is to be working with colleagues and people across different areas of expertise and on different campuses and across the country. So conferences in my field have been really very critical to learning and growing and even finding other career opportunities or kind of additional opportunities within my current career. Higher degrees, certainly higher degrees tend to be one of the things that folks kind of highlight as a key to having upward mobility and doing more. Not always the case, though. Maybe I'm an example. I have a doctorate in sociology. I'm not really working in sociology. If I had done the master's degree only, maybe I still would have been in okay shape. I don't know. But if getting a higher degree is something that fulfills you, definitely do it. But if if you are developing the skill set and you become absolutely critical or one of the folks that lead in a field, that's just as much a key towards moving yourself forward too, or finding your next career versus a higher degree. So yeah, I guess it'll depend on the kind of person you are and what you want to do. And what you're comfortable with, or really what opportunities are in front of you. But I would say probably and even in more solitary work that I often have to do, I learn best, or I grow the most by turning to other people, seeing how they're doing things, and maybe seeking advice. And trying to network both organically, kind of just by saying, hey, how are you doing this? Or by doing it in a formal way, by going to conferences and so forth.
I think I see another question from Laura. Any advice for young professionals in whatever field they end up choosing, who they might go through a layoff or something similar in their career, or it's really not what they thought it would be, or have a change of mind? Just recommendations on how to keep momentum going, stay positive, and get back on the horse, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I have not had that experience yet, but I'm sure, like everyone else, I will in my lifetime. But I do know that a lot of my peers have. I guess I'll just say, being undeclared and undecided is a privilege, and it means that you have support from your network, or the courage to say, I don't know what I want to do, and I'm willing to work hard to figure it out, instead of just picking up whatever it is that your father did or your mother did or what they expect you to do, because you're going to carry on the legacy of this family and make us all rich. That's just the way it is when you're undeclared. Is you're willing to say, like, yeah, I admit I don't know the answer. And I think it takes the same amount of courage throughout your career, especially after maybe your family has invested significant money into your degree or yourself, to say, maybe this isn't what I want. It takes a lot. And I think having a really good grip of what you do want is going to help make that a little bit easier. Um, and you're not really stuck in place if you're in that position. And I think um, it might be more helpful to think about how you can weave in what it is that you do want into your existing situation, whatever it is. When I was living in Syracuse working for the digital marketing company, I was really unhappy. And I found a way to work 10 hours a week or whatever for someone helping with social media things. And I loved it. It was like the thing that got me up every morning. And that helped me figure out what I wanted to do. And then once I could prove to myself that I'm good at it and that's what I wanted to do, it gave me more courage to go out and find those opportunities.
Yeah, it can be, it takes a lot of, like Mary's saying, a lot of courage, and it can be very humbling too, to say, yeah, I didn't, this is not what I wanted, and to kind of reverse course and make changes. And the advice I would have for folks who are in that situation is that you have to remain open to hearing and really thinking about what your goals are, what your strengths are. It's really not unusual, and I know that the career counselors on the call will probably tell you this. It's really not unusual for folks later in life to say, "Ooh, I really want or need or should go in a different direction, or I'm stronger in this area." So it can be very, it can certainly be very humbling, and like Mary said, take a lot of courage to have to make a change, just to tell yourself that you had it wrong. So for sure, know that you're not alone. I guess that's probably the advice that I have for you, that most adults change careers, and it is absolutely, you're absolutely not alone. And in terms of like some of the things that are happening now with folks who are being laid off, or being partly laid off. Fortunately, I'm not in that situation, but in higher ed, we have those concerns too, because obviously right now many of our colleagues who are adjuncts and so forth are in that situation. Turn to your friends if you find yourself in that situation. Turn to your family. Realize that your job is not who you are. It's a big part of who you are for sure, and a lot of people find fulfillment in their jobs, but you will be able to, as Laura has said, get back on the horse as time goes on. And also know that you're not alone. A lot of people do face that kind of a setback. And if you need help, there's lots of people out there who are willing to help, or even just willing to talk you through. And again, turn to your friends and your family, because often they have good ideas about what your next steps might be. So that would be the advice I would give. I've been in that position in the past where I'm not sure where I'm going and maybe found myself unemployed. And that can be a very kind of another very humbling experience for sure, and make you reassess and take stock. So it's a hard situation. It's terrible. Feeling certainly when you're in the middle of it, but it can also be, it can also really be a real benefit in some ways, because it will allow you to take stock, and it will allow you to turn to the people who care about you the most, and who may have some very good ideas for you, and some very, very supportive things to say and do for you when you're in those situations.
I just want to say you guys both do a great job at very much like humanizing a lot of these like feelings and experiences that students go through, because you guys are right. Like, we're not alone in this, but it can feel very lonely and alone, even more so if I'm just sitting in this dorm room on a Zoom call. But there's still time to, I guess, ask questions if anyone has any more. But if not, a final question for me, I guess, would be, do you guys have any general just career advice and or any more inspiring words, perhaps?
I don't know if these words are inspiring, but I would say have fun with it. I mean, don't. I think in the world we are taught to believe that work is work, and if you're having fun, that you're doing something wrong, or if you're chasing something down and it feels kind of like an avocation, that maybe you're not working quote unquote hard enough. I think that's actually something that, well, sociologists, we certainly have said that about the way that America structures its working life, which is that, we are very career focused and we draw these, these very hard lines in a lot of ways. But don't don't close yourself off to having fun and really enjoying something, and don't think that enjoying your work is bad, I guess. I mean, I enjoy, I'm a registrar at a college, and my work is to do paperwork essentially and do compliance and track things. I love it. And people think I'm nuts, but it's really fun for me. I really like learning about those kinds of things. Don't be afraid to be a nerd or a geek and do what you want to do, and love what you do, and just have some fun with it. And that goes for exploring a career when you're still in college. If you find something like a class and it just changes you, or it spurs something inside of you to make a change, or to go in a different direction, don't be closed off to that. Think about it at least, and maybe explore it a little or explore it a lot, but just don't be afraid to kind of chase the fun a little bit. So
I love that, Tom. I feel like that's what I'm doing right now, because something I've always been super interested in is food and farming and growing food and, plant-based eating and all these things. And one thing that I've really taken advantage of is creating my own opportunities, I think, and which is a lot of work. But my first internship, I found a volunteer organization and I said, can I just like do some writing for you or something and make it an internship? And they were super into it. And, there were clubs that I thought we should have. And so I was like, let's just make it. And so with this current job I have, I saw that they were looking for someone to help with marketing in the region. And I thought, for local food producers, I thought, no one else can do this job as good as I can. I can do this job. And so, we had to go through funding applications and figure out how I could, have this project funded. And so I wouldn't be too stressed out about feeling like you're at a lack of opportunity, because I think there's a lot of focus on networking with people who are high up and have a lot of power, and having kind of like this stack of business cards and feeling like an accomplished like senior student, by having a very full resume and all these things. But I think the world's changing, and maybe you don't have a stack of business cards, but on Twitter you have 3,000 people following you who think that you're really good at doing music, or whatever it is that you feel like you want to do. And think about that a little bit, what it means for you. And um, don't be afraid to say, no one else can do this thing that I really want to do as good as I can, and figuring out how to do it.
That made me feel a lot better about caring about my Instagram following.
You definitely care about your Instagram followers. No.
But thank you both again for inspiring us. I can see a lot of like, thank yous and appreciations coming from the chat. Thanks to everybody for participating. We all hope that each of you enjoyed the networking fair and the sessions held today. Please make sure to follow up with each professional that you connected with today and check out the other Imagine 2021 programs held during the month. Link to the website will be put in the chat, but other than that, everyone have a great night.
Thank you, Alexis.
Yes, thank you. Wonderful. Thanks for having us. Thanks. Bye.